Hello, welcome to Bob's Dungeon. My name is Bob, I'll be your host. And in this video, we're going to talk about horror. I like horror. I like watching all kinds of horror movies. I like reading horror novels. And I like horror tabletop role-playing games. And, of course, the most famous of these is Call of Cthulhu. The World of Darkness is considered horror games, although these days vampire is more politically motivated than it is horror motivated. So, anyway, there are lots of other role-playing games out there that use horror to good effect. And we're going to talk about one of those in this video. In this video, we're going to talk about Horror, a role-playing game. This book has 63 pages and a copyright of 2023. It was published by DM Dave, and there is no artwork in this book whatsoever. So we're going to skip the looking at any artwork in this book and just talk about the book itself. Now, play this game, what you're going to need is, of course, a copy of this core rule book and as many six-sided dice as you can get your hands on. That's all you need. This book is really neat. We're going to start with talking about how this book has two different ways you can play it. You can play it in flick mode, which is basically a one-shot game. In the one-shot game version of this, the game master makes up all the characters for the scenario that he's going to run, and then the player characters get to pick what character they want that's already generated. Then there is franchise mode. Franchise mode is more your traditional ongoing game where it'll run for several sessions. And in this version, the player characters will make up their own characters. So we're going to look at character creation. The first thing that you're going to want to do to make up your character is to pick an archetype. And the archetype will give you different aspects for that character to choose from. But archetypes that you can pick from are the ambitious scientist, the brave adventurer, the brawny protector, the cynical survivor, the devoted caregiver, the enigmatic artist, the fearless youth, and the seasoned detective. Now, after you pick your archetype, you'll then you'll then figure out your attributes. The attributes used in this game are strength, agility, wits, and empathy. And you get 14 points to split up amongst these attributes. And you have to have at least 2 points in each attribute, and they can go no higher than 4. Now, each archetype has a primary attribute to it, a key attribute, if you will, and that attribute can be taken up to 5, but only that attribute. After that, you'll figure up your character's stress, and his stress, a character generation, is 0. You start with 0 stress. It's a good thing. Then you'll figure up your health. Your health is equal to your character's strength attribute. Then you'll figure up your skills. And each of the archetypes will have several associated skills for it. And you have 10 skills split up amongst all your skills. And your skills that are associated with your archetype can go up to 3. Any other skill you get can only go to 1. And you can have whatever you want. After you figure up your skills, your character will pick specialties, and it has a list of specialties for you to pick from your archetype. Then you'll figure up your character's personality traits, which is your character's agenda, his weakness, and a dark secret. Each of the archetypes have selections for each of these that you can pick. Then you'll figure up your character's gear, and again, your archetype will tell you what kind of gear you can start with. After that, you figure up your buddy, and your buddy is someone you have a special attachment to in the group, one of the other player characters. And that's character generation for this game. This game uses the Year Zero engine as its rule set. So if you're familiar with it, then you're familiar with the rules in this game. The way it works basically is when you go to perform a task, you figure out what skill you're going to use, and whatever ranking you have in that skill, that's how many six-sided dice you get. And you also get to use the attribute that that skill is tied to. So if you have 3 in the attribute and 2 in the skill, that'll be a total of 5 six-sided dice you can roll. And when you roll the dice, for every 6 you roll, that's a success. You only need 1 success to succeed. Any more than that counts as extra successes and can do things like boost your damage if you're attacking. And it does some other stuff depending on what's going on. And if you don't roll any successes, you can push the roll, meaning you can re-roll the dice that aren't showing a 1. If a die is showing a 1, you can't re-roll it. But if it's not showing a 1, you can re-roll that die to try and get a success. And that's pushing it. And pushing it will give your character stress. And the stress builds up, and that's a bad thing. In combat, once all your health is gone, you're not dead, you're just out of commission. And for every hit you take beyond what your health is, you get a critical injury, and there's a critical injury table in here that you roll on. And it can give you a permanent injury, it can do little damage, or it can even outright kill your character. It just depends on what you roll. Now, this is a horror RPG, and there are no monsters in this book, and nothing really horror related in this book. It's just rules for the game. The only thing tying this to being a horror role-playing game is that throughout the book it says it's a horror role-playing game, which kind of stinks if you just buy this book. But if you just buy this book, you can use these rules for any type of game you want. But the horror comes from whatever you come up with to add to the game. However, there are some horror scenario books out there for it. I've only been able to find one. And we're going to talk about that now. We're going to talk about The Diner. This book has 55 pages and a copyright of 2023. It was published by DM Dave, and all of the artwork in this book is in full color, and it is really cool artwork. So let's go ahead and look at that artwork now. This is the first picture we see when we open the book, which is just a redo of the cover without any writing. All of the artwork in this book is in full color and looks really good in a comic book type of way. It goes a long way to setting a proper tone and mood for the content of this book. To use this book, what you're going to need is, of course, a copy of this book, a copy of the core rule book, and as many six-sided dice as you can get your hands on. Now, this book has 5 different horror scenarios in it, each one of them taking place in a diner. Now, this book gives you a layout of the diner and talks about the people that work there and gives you the layout and the map and how everything's set up in the diner. Then after that, it dives into the scenarios. It has some pre-generated characters for you to pick from, your player characters pick from. Any of the characters not picked will be NPCs in the game. And each one has their own agendas and so forth. The first scenario in this book is called Mine Eaters. and it's about these alien brain creatures that are taking control of people's minds and getting them to do things. At the start of the game, there will be a couple of players who already have their minds taken over. This will be determined by the game master, but none of the other players will know except for the two playing those who are possessed. So that should be interesting. The second scenario is called The Night Shift, and it's about these horrifying looking vampires attacking the diner at night and creating minions and trying to kill everybody and take over and so forth. Kind of a Dusk Till Dawn type deal. The Mind Eaters has kind of got a Critters vibe to it because it's got some alien bounty hunters showing up. So you got those. After that, the third scenario in this book is called Eight-Legged Pandemic. And it's about these alien spiders coming down and attacking everything. You're being swarmed by big tarantula-sized spiders. Then there are some monster human-sized spiders, some spider-human hybrids. Basically, it's anyone that's arachnophobes' worst nightmare. And, you can think Eight-Legged Freaks if you want for this one. Very cool. Your fourth scenario in here is called the Demonomicon. Basically, it's Evil Dead in a diner. Somebody brings this evil book into the diner, reads from it, and demons start popping up all over the place, possessing people, killing people, wreaking havoc. You know the scenario. That's very cool. The last scenario, the fifth scenario in this, is called Slime. And there's this giant green slime monster attacking the diner. The government's involved, go figure. Basically, the Blob. So, there's some really cool stuff in here. And this is where your horror really kicks in. Now, this is the only scenario book I've been able to find for. I've been trying to find a couple of the others. In the back of this one, it says coming soon, gas station, and the motel. But I have not been able to find those two. So, maybe in the future. But anyway, this brings me to 3 questions. Would I play a character in this game using these scenarios? Yes, I would. I love horror games, and this would be a lot of fun. Would I run this game in these scenarios? Yes, I would. I just need to find the right group to unleash it upon. Would I recommend this game? Yeah, I'd recommend it. It's very simple rules, very simple premise, and, even if you don't have the scenario book, you can come up with whatever horror scenarios you want. And that's pretty cool. So thank you for joining me at a look at these books. And hopefully you'll join me next time where we'll talk about something else. Bye.